Part 180. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1791. As Lu Erxiang ran out of the house, the Lu family courtyard suddenly became lively. Lu's father and Cheng Baoqiu were old and light-hearted, so they got up very early to exercise. Xiao Miao even went out to run a few laps and came back, boxing in the yard, and did not slack off because he left the army. "Old comrade, what's for breakfast?" "I'll cook," Xiao Miao asked the head of the family. Although Father Lu did not often go to the army compound where his son and daughter-in-law were, he was used to the presence of orderlies. He hurriedly said, "Yesterday, everyone helped to steam 5 large pots of more than 102 pack noodle rolls, and baked a large pot of them for sweet potato flour pancakes. Just boil some rice porridge and rolls in the morning. There are ready-made pickles at home. Cut them up and fry them in lard. Zibao, come and help me." Zibao responded and led Yayan and his 2 younger brothers out. Wan Quilin rolled up her sleeves and said, "Let me do it. You men can speak for yourself. Cook porridge, roll rolls, stir-fry pickles, and according to Zibao's instructions, take out 2 large bowls of sugared garlic from the jar. The garlic grown in the private plot is harvested when it is not fully mature. The old skin is peeled off and soaked in sweet and sour. It has been pickled for more than half a year. It is so delicious that the smell is enough to make people drool. Simple and easy." Miao Fengqing came over, carrying an enamel bowl of cooked salted duck eggs. When she saw the food on the table, she looked at Father Lu in surprise. "The children just came back after a long time, and you are giving them these?" "Fortunately, they came here when they were young. I didn't stay at home for a long time." Before Father Lu could say anything, Zibao stepped forward to take over with a smile. "This is called enduring hardship to become a master." Miao Fengqing glared at him. "I don't believe this. Who likes to suffer?" In the past, suffering was a sign of low living standards. There was no other way. It was good luck to fill your stomach. Now life is getting better and better. Your brother and sister I have been living with your parents since I was a child, and they were raised on a land of rice and flour, so that they are always watery. If you ask them to eat this, you must not frighten them so much that they will never return to your hometown." Although they had visited the Wanglu Brigade once when they were young, Fu Bao and the triplets had no impression of her and did not remember her. They looked at her curiously with watery eyes. Only Lu Erxiang nodded vigorously in agreement. He liked to eat big meat, don't like to eat pickles. Cheng Baoqiu smiled and said, "No one can afford rice and flour every day." In the army compound, several children often eat porridge and pickles. Miao Fengqin knew that Cheng Baoqiu had resigned from the position of top leader in Huihe City. Although her attitude was respectful, the look on her face showed that she did not believe the statement at all. Baoqiu didn't coax you. Wan Quilin warmly invited them to sit down and eat together. Miao Fengqin shook her head and said, No, our family has prepared meals. We are just afraid that the children will not be able to eat well when they are new here, so we specially sent some of our own salted duck eggs for you to add to your meal. They are cooked." Zibao said to his younger siblings, "This is my great-aunt, and that is my great-aunt. Grandma and aunt, grandma." Several children stood up and shouted politely, but their voices were not uniform. Looking at the clean and handsome children in front of her, "All of them are the best among people." Miao Fengqin smiled from ear to ear. "Sit down and eat quickly. I will ask your eldest brother to take you to my aunt and grandma's house to play, and my aunt will leave it for you. Got a lot of delicious food." "Thank you, uncle and grandpa. After dinner, we and my brother will go to see uncle and grandpa," Fu Bao said crisply. Miao Fengqin was very excited when she heard this. She liked it very much. Children in the city were different from children in the countryside. They were polite and generous. Looking at their words and deeds, they looked like the shrunken Fengqing Xiu, bright and charming. It's cold. The food is getting cold quickly. You guys eat first. I'm going home. My aunt is waiting for you at home. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1792. Zibao sent her out and returned to the main room. He saw Lu Erxian holding a salted duck egg in his hand. He cracked the top, peeled off the shell, reached in with his chopsticks and scooped out the egg white and yolk inside, and ate it deliciously with porridge and steamed buns. The yolk is slightly red and almost oozes oil. Dun Dun and Yayan followed suit. Only Zhuang and Fuebao drank porridge and did not eat salted duck eggs. Cheng Baokyo was full of praise. Compared with the previous craftsmanship, it is a great improvement. Miao Fengqin was originally a maid of the Lu family. Cheng Baokyo naturally had a taste of Miao Fengqin's craftsmanship when he was Lu's father's companion. Father Lu smiled and said to Zibao, after dinner, take your younger brothers and sisters to the homes of some uncles and grandparents. Don't leave your aunts and uncles behind. I saw what you brought back, and each family carried 2 pack the fruit and take 2 packs of Chinese cigarettes, and keep the candy cubes for the children who come to our house to play, so I won't give them to them yet. Cheng Baokyo said, it's enough to give the hard candies to the children who come to play. When Ajiang and Zioxu were not at home, Zhenkyo and the others helped you a lot. One family will pack half a caddy of toffee, and the 4 families will have a total of 2 caddies. The remaining few pounds are left for our children. Father Lu thought for a while and nodded in agreement. Before Zibao took his younger brothers and sisters out, Father Lu warned, put some candy in your pocket and scatter one when you see the child. Eaters are short-tongued and take advantage of others softly. There are so many fellow villagers in the Wanglu brigade. Not all of them are benevolent and kind-hearted. Why are they willing to protect them and ensure that they are safe and sound in the turbulent times? Not only is Lu Jiang's position high and powerful, everyone also needs the Lu family's connections to get some benefits for themselves. Although they are not free, in this world, if you have money, you can't buy the things you want. Walking out of the Lu family courtyard, the 4 Fuebao siblings felt everyone's extraordinary enthusiasm, which they had never experienced in the army compound. The reason why the people in the army compound were so attentive to them was because their parents had a high position and were not so direct. White. Zibao constantly taught his younger brothers and sisters how to call people uncles, aunts, grandparents, brothers, and sisters-in-law. The 4 siblings were very able to hold up the scene. They were well behaved and clever, and their screams were so sweet that they were sweet to each other's hearts. Words praising them for being smart, fair, and handsome came out of their mouths as if they were free of money. What made them most comfortable was that the 4 siblings could not see their contempt for the country people. The Wanglu Brigade has had a bumper harvest every year, and has been engaged in breeding in recent years. The work points have continued to rise every year, so the members of their brigade are not as timid as other brigade members. Going to the city is a common thing. After getting the industrial coupons of Cheng Baokyo and his wife from Father Lu, they had to go to the city to buy what they wanted, right? What's more, there are also people who enter and exit the black market privately. Therefore, they have seen many scenes of city people looking down on country people. Zibao, take your younger brothers and sisters around, and I'll give you a bowl of croquettes later. Jingquihua looked at the 5 children in front of her with a smile, and the envious smile in her eyes couldn't stop flowing out. Fu Bao and the triplets naturally didn't recognize her, so 11 Bao introduced her. She is my uncle's nephew's daughter-in-law. We have to call her cousin. Hello, auntie. This time the voice was very neat. Jingquihua smiled and said, hey, you are so polite. Zibao looked at Wang Zhenqiu, who was very close at hand, and said with a smile, auntie, let's find my uncle and grandpa and go there first. My uncle and grandma gave us things in the morning and said they would be waiting for us at home. After hearing this, Jingqiwa quickly gave way. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1793. Wang Zhenqiu is an elder. Even if he wants to see his children eagerly, he is still waiting for their arrival at home. Miao Fengqin put melon seeds, candies, and fried fruits on the table, and said, "What kind of virtue? In this era, we still pay attention to the old-fashioned respect of elders and inferiors. You don't know how good a few children are. You can tell them at a glance. I know it's the child of Lu Zhang and Xiaoxiu. I don't know how to describe how smart and energetic he is." Wang Zhenqiu felt itchy and unbearable. Just when he wanted to go out, he heard Zibao's voice calling the door. This voice was no less than the sound of nature to him. Here it comes, Miao Fengqin rubbed her hands on her apron and went to open the door. When she saw the 5 children, she immediately beamed with joy. "Your uncle and grandpa are waiting for you at home, come in quickly." The 5 children laughed and called them uncle and grandma. Seeing the things they were carrying, Miao Fengqin led them into the house and said, "It's fine if you come, but what about that? There are several portions in one hand, so I might as well leave it to you to eat." That being said, she would definitely feel uncomfortable if several children were left empty-handed. Zibao smiled and said, "I didn't take anything, just me in general. When I went to pick up my brothers and sisters, I brought some toffee from the city for my aunt and grandma to sweeten my mouth, and 2 packs of cigarettes for my uncle and grandpa to smoke." As they entered the main room while talking, Wang Zhenqiu asked what kind of cigarette it was. "Zonghua brand cigarettes, bought by Grandpa San, are the best." Zibao didn't hide anything. Wang Zhenqiu hummed, and when he heard them calling him uncle and grandpa repeatedly, his eyebrows were raised with joy. "You guys, Grandpa Cheng San, are here together? He is a big cotter of our Huihei city. I have to go see him and talk to him. Although he is early, the ground has retreated, but our Wanglu brigade has benefited from him and Mayor Zhao, and our connections are all there. Mayor Zhao is Zhao Anbang, Zibao's godfather. He comes to Wanglu brigade frequently, and Wanglu brigade has received great protection from him." Miao Fengqin said angrily, "Why are you so anxious? The child has not even had time to breathe when he comes to see you. After that, he called some children to eat." Seeing that they were embarrassed, he reached out and grabbed a lot of melon seeds and candies and stuffed them into their pockets, until the pockets were bulging. The remaining fried fruits were in deep-fried goods and were difficult to store. Miao Fengqin said directly, "I'll give you a basket later." Fried fruits, also known as fried leaves, are sun-dried noodle leaves fried in oil until crispy and browned. Fengqin Xiu's rice noodle fried fruits at home are one of them. Like radish balls, they are their local regular New Year's goods. The Wanglu brigade has also had a good life in the past 2 years. Each family has distributed a lot of vegetable oil at the end of the year. No one would be willing to part with it in the first 2 years. The living conditions at the homes of the other 2 uncles and grandfathers are not as good as those of Wang Zhenqiu, but their hospitality is also warm and thoughtful. Finally, we went to Wang Fengqiao's house. Wang Fengqiao was waiting anxiously. When she saw them, she pulled one with her left hand and one with her right hand. She stared at the 2 more and felt that she couldn't see enough. Zibao, Fuebao, and the triplets come on, has the relationship with grain and oil changed? It's okay if it hasn't. Our team will have a good harvest this year. I'll give you a bag of noodles later." Zibao smiled and said, "It has been transferred. The household registration has not been transferred. The grain and oil relations have been transferred to the city. The materials are all at Grandpa Cheng San's place. I will handle it another day." With a letter of introduction, a military certificate, and the person does not live in the place of household registration, it can be done short-term transfer to a place of residence. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1794. Although the state has issued many strict regulations in order to prohibit the mutual circulation between urban and rural areas, and letters of introduction are required to enter the city, take a bus, and stay in a hotel, the law is nothing more than human relationships, and considering the situation of people who are on business trips for a long time, this is why the provision for temporarily transferring the relationship between grain and oil is just that the time between their siblings is a bit long, but it does not trouble their parents. Zibao's grain and oil relations didn't change at first. Later, because he had been living in his hometown for a long time, he made a temporary transfer and settled in the city. Except for the educated youth who go to the mountains and countryside, it is difficult to transfer urban and rural household registrations, including marriage. Wang Fengqiao felt relieved when she learned that the food and oil relations for several children had been transferred to Huihei City, but she was also annoyed that she didn't care enough about Zibao and didn't know that such an operation existed. No wonder Zibao never lacked food when he lived in his hometown. After Zibao left with his younger siblings, Wang Fengqiao packed up a bag of noodles and brought a basket of eggs to them. Due to the cutting off of the tail of capitalism, their family only raised 3 chickens. However, she and her husband lived alone and had very little daily expenses. They only had enough money from work points every year, so they saved up eggs to eat at home, and occasionally stuffed them. Give 1 or 2 to your grandchildren instead of going to the supply and marketing cooperative to exchange for needles, thread, brains, matches and other daily necessities like most of your neighbors. When Wang Fengqiao arrived, Wang Zhenqiao was talking to Cheng Baoqiao. In addition, many fellow villagers came to join in the fun. One family brought a basket of eggs, another a bowl of meatballs, or some potatoes, radish, cabbage, and dried vegetables. Fu Bao and the triplets almost froze with laughter. Yayan, who was hiding in the east wing and could not come out, secretly said he was glad that he was not one of the children of the Lu family. He had already discovered that everyone was more interested in the children of the Lu family. Fubao wanted to see Jin Ruoku, Wen Ruyu and other old gentlemen as soon as possible, so he nudged Lu Erxian smartly. Xiang, don't you want to take a mule cart? I'm curious too. Lu Erxian grabbed Lu Tianzi's arm. Second cousin, you have to keep your word and take us to see the big mule. Lu Tianzi laughed, but said, what a beautiful idea. Everyone is here to see you. If you leave, wouldn't it be a waste of time for them to go? Sit obediently and call me for help, and don't think about going out. It's so enthusiastic that I can't resist it. Lu Erxian glared at him bitterly, sat down in the corner with the bowl of meatballs and started eating. The meatballs were not as delicious as the fried meatballs. They were not new meatballs. They were not crispy enough, but very soft. After eating a few meatballs, Lu Erxian put the bowl back on the table, touched the melon seeds in his pocket, and ate them while hiding next to him. Praising their siblings for their good looks and politeness, and their compliments to Cheng Baoqiao and his wife. The situation is becoming increasingly clear, and the backgrounds of Wang Xinchen and Cheng Baoqiao are no longer hidden from anyone. Everyone in the Wanglu Brigade feels proud. Their Wanglu Brigade has produced 3 big shots. How can they not be proud? The older generation is Wang Xinchen and Cheng Baoqiao, the current generation is Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu, and the next generation will also be better than their predecessors. Because of these big names, the Wanglu Brigade is developing better and better. The commune, county, and city are all giving face to it. Many times when good things happen, the Wanglu Brigade is not left behind. The Wanglu Brigade develops the breeding industry very smoothly, which is special. The exception is that if they have a walking tractor, the Dongfang Hong crawler tractor will not have their share. Someone suggested, Captain, we're old, Let's kill the pig tomorrow. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1795. When they heard the word kill pig, everyone's eyes lit up, and Lu Erxian's eyes were like light bulbs. Others thought that killing pigs was a good idea, and that the dishes of slaughtered pigs were perfect for entertaining people who had been away from home for a long time, but Lu Erxian thought that he could have a good meal of meat. Although the Lu family is not short of meat, Lu Erxian has an inexplicable thirst for meat and will panic if he doesn't eat it. Wang Zhenqiu naturally hopes that the children of his niece's family will be well fed and clothed, adapt to the life in his hometown, and remember the customs of his hometown when they have the ability in the future. However, he cannot act according to his own wishes. He calculated the time and said with a smile, "The day after tomorrow kill, I will ask Hu Ejin to take leave the day after tomorrow, and kill the pigs with the strong laborers of our brigade, keep 6 pigs, and kill 12 pigs, so that the fellow villagers can have a good year." Adults and children burst into cheers. After a busy year, don't they just think about a bite of meat at the end of the year? As for the matter of killing pigs and making big pots of meat during the busy farming season, they selectively forgot about it at this moment. Wang Zhenqiu continued, "We will fish tomorrow, while it is not snowing and the river is not blocked by ice. In the evening, we will set some big nets. We will see how many fish we can catch tomorrow, and each household will share it." Everyone suddenly burst into laughter. Fishing and killing pigs. Could their life not be prosperous? In order not to disturb Wang Zhenqiu, Chen Baoqiu, and others reminiscing about old times, and because it was almost noon, everyone finished smoking and sat for a while before saying goodbye one after another. The main room finally returned to calm, without the disturbing noise. While Jojo and Wang Quilin were making lunch, Guan Yu said with a smile, "Uncle, when will we share the chicken and duck?" He has missed the old hens and ducks in the farm for a long time. The old hens are stewed with mushrooms, and the old ducks are stewed with dried bamboo shoots. The taste is amazing. Wang Zhenqiu said angrily, "Why didn't you and Tianzi go to work today? Today is Monday, which is not a day off." Guan Yu said with a smile, "Isn't this the 3 grandpas, grandma, and younger brothers and sisters who have come home all the way? Anyway, Tianzi and I have very free work, so we each asked for 3 days of leave. Uncle, Grandpa, this year we will not be divided into chickens. Duck. If not, we can buy it with money. Please believe in the fact that our family is not short of money. Members are allowed to purchase chicken, duck, and goose eggs in limited quantities, and the same goes for chicken, duck, and goose meat. However, some families can afford it and are willing to buy it back for family members, while others cannot afford it. The situation in Wanglu Brigade is very good, but not every household is living well. Some suffer from famine due to problems with their children getting married, some suffer from helping their relatives and friends, and some suffer from laziness, earning less work points and not being able to share the money. Their lives naturally fall into poverty, and they wish they could be broken into 2 for a penny. For half a dollar, let alone chickens, ducks, fish, meat, and eggs, these families don't necessarily want all the meat that the brigade distributes per person because the money has to be deducted from the work points. To sum up, the brigade has enough chicken, duck, fish, meat, and eggs for people with good conditions to buy. Wang Zhenqiu glared at him, "Are you afraid that other people won't know that you are rich? It's the end of the year, and there are more families fighting famine. They are worried that they have no place to borrow money to solve the current predicament. They dare not ask your 3rd grandfather, 3rd grandma, 'Can't you speak to your wife?' I think you are too worried about the money." Guan Yu protested, "I remember when I was a kid, my aunt would often buy pigs to beat our teeth as a sacrifice. Why didn't you talk about aunt? Now I abide by the rules of our brigade and don't buy excessive amounts of chicken, duck, fish, meat, and eggs." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1796. Speaking of this matter, Wang Zhenqiu had more to say. Can you compare with your aunt? Can't compare, Guan Yu blurted out. Even Lu Zhang, who is now in a high position, cannot be compared with Feng Qingxiu. Her contribution and popularity in the Wanglu Brigade are much better than others. Currently, she is second only to Zi Bao. She personally delivered a large number of children from all over the country, and their names were all related to her. Dr. Li Li, who was in charge of the clinic of Wanglu Brigade, came to Wanglu Brigade after Feng Qingxiu left. After working hard for so many years, his status in everyone's hearts was not as high as that of Feng Qingxiu. Isn't this the end? Wang Zhenqiu calmed down. You can take as much as each household deserves according to their head count. Don't just buy a lot of chickens, ducks, fish, meat, and eggs. Don't worry, I will work with all the producers. The captain discussed that all the children would have a share, and the money would be deducted from your family's work points or you would pay for it. This would not be conspicuous at all, and no one would say anything. After all, you all live at home, and I know you are living a good life. I'm used to it. The food given to you is not enough for you to eat a few meals, but isn't your monthly supply there? You and Tianzi often go to the city, and no outsiders will know when you come back from the state-owned restaurant. Father Lu, who had been silent until now, showed a smile and said, Ayu, listen to your uncle and grandfather. Your aunt sent a lot of New Year's goods and put them in the house. There are also cured goods and games sent by your uncle's comrades, which are enough for us. New Year. Guan Yu hummed, fully understanding the foresight of the two elders, and could only look at the old hen and the old duck with excitement. Father Lu turned to Wang Zhenqiu and said, forget about anything else, let's buy an old goose and stew it in an iron pot. It's not often found in military compounds. Except for Zi Bao, several of the children probably haven't eaten it. I haven't eaten it before. Is it delicious? Lu Erxiang asked. Zi Bao laughed and said, you'll know if it tastes good or not after you eat it. If you ask us now, we can't even describe it. At this time, not only Lu Erxiang, but other children also took a big gulp of saliva. When Wang Zhenqiu saw this, he was overjoyed. He thought to remind his old wife to kill the old hens that had been raised for 3 or 4 years to make room for next year's chicks. After the old hen was stewed, he would ask the children to eat it. Her daughters-in-laws raised chickens, but she didn't raise them herself. Instead, she raised 3 geese. I believe she would be willing to give one to the Lu family. Although Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu have not come back these years, they have never been left behind when sending things during the holidays. After 2 or 3 years, there will be clothes or military uniforms made for them. After all, the old couple and Wang Jiao, what you gain is countless times more than what you pay for. People's hearts are made of flesh, how can they remain indifferent? When she learned that the Fubao siblings were back, Wang Jiao, who often lived in the city, hurried and finally arrived home before evening. Without her father having to say anything, she directly asked Zhang Yuejin to catch a big goose and tie it with a hemp rope. He grabbed the things he brought from the city and ran to Lu's house. Jojo, who was rolling out noodles, couldn't help laughing and said, cousin, the child is not at home. Wang Jiao was stunned, where have you gone? It's almost dark. Zi Bao took them out for a walk with Grandpa Cheng San and Grandma Cheng. I don't know when they will come back. I guess they will come back during dinner. Didn't you meet them on the way here? Wang Jiao shook her head, no, I ran all the way here as soon as I got home. Jojo thought for a while and said, how about you wait? Have dinner at our house tonight. Forget it, I'll go home first and leave my things here. I'll come see the child tomorrow. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1797. Although Chen Baoqiu has retired, he still cares about the lives of ordinary people. He can't wait for tomorrow. He takes Zibao and asks him to take him around, including pig farms, chicken farms, and reservoirs. There are flocks of ducks and geese. Walk into the circle in groups. Chickens, ducks, and geese all know the way and don't need anyone to guide them. Of course, in order to prevent some poachers and weasels from worrying about these collective properties, the Wanglu Brigade sent members who were better at raising chickens, ducks, and geese to guard the ducks and geese in the chicken farms and reservoirs respectively. They drove the ducks and geese into the water every morning, and only went to the water in the evening. Hurry back to the circle, and you have to count them one by one, so as not to have trouble explaining to the team. At the same time, Wang Dachun was leading people to row a famous canoe to lower a large net into the reservoir. Lu Erxian watched with great interest, feeling that everything in his hometown was rare, but Fuebao was thinking about Jin Ruoku and Wen Ruyu, and tugged on him, but he didn't move, and he couldn't help but frowned. Xiang, it's time for us to see Grandpa Wen. It's not convenient to visit during the day, so we can do it at night, right? Lu Erxian listened to his sister's words and said unhappily, I want to watch boating and fishing. Fu Bao said solemnly, no, you can watch it anytime. Today we have to go see Grandpa Wen and Grandpa Jin. When we came, Mom told us to say hello to the grandpas. Didn't Uncle and Grandpa say we will fish tomorrow? That scene will definitely be better than it is now. Why don't you gather your energy and join in the fun tomorrow? Chen Baoqiu and Wang Quilin allowed the two children to fight back and forth, laughing and saying nothing. Apart from eating, Lu Erxian was not as good as the smart sister in other aspects. Finally, he retreated and waved his hand, okay, who made you my sister? Let's go say hello to the grandfathers, but you are not allowed to let the grandfathers force you. I read, write, and draw, but I'm tired of going to school, it's not fun at all. Zibao stood beside him with his arms folded and heard the words, Grandpa Zhou, who lives with Grandpa Wen and Grandpa Jin, has been on the battlefield and fought against the Japanese. He has many stories about the anti-Japanese war in his stomach. He knew this lively and active younger brother better. The little guy said happily, General. Yes, General, before the military rank was abolished, Zhou Fengshu's military rank was Lieutenant General. Lu Erxian dragged him down the embankment, go quickly, I want to see Grandpa Zhou, and I also want to be a general. Chen Baoqiu and his old wife pulled Fuebao Yayan and Dun Dun Zhuang behind them, and asked strangely, didn't Mr. Zhou live in a cowshed? How come he lives with those cultural people? Zibao turned around and said with a smile, several grandparents returned to work and left here. During this period, they sent many things over. Who is a smart person who would embarrass the remaining grandparents? They may resume work one day and continue to be high officials. Not now. How long will it take to make good friends? So, after a meeting and discussion, the treatment of the grandparents was not only a little better than before, but Grandpa Zhou also moved out of the cowshed. Fortunately, several grandparents left before, and the space was vacated. It's enough for Grandpa to live in. They live together, can they talk about it? Chen Baoqiu joked. When Ruyu passed by the embankment carrying a bundle of firewood. When she heard their words, she couldn't help but said, civil and military complement each other, and we share the same pain. Why can't we talk about it together? Zibao said happily, Grandpa Wen, I am about to take my younger brothers and sisters to visit you. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1798. When Ruyu's attitude towards Zibao and his younger brothers and sisters was completely different from her attitude towards Chen Baoqiu. She was so kind-hearted that a flower almost bloomed on her face. Let me guess, this is Fuebao, this is Dun Dun, this is Xiong Xiong, and this is Chuang Chuang, right? The remaining one is naturally Yayan, who is often mentioned in Fuebao's letters. The old man quickly said. The children in front of her corresponded to the photos and portraits one by one. The portrait was painted by Feng Qingxiu in her spare time, using the line drawing technique. She once sent it to Wen Ruyu for his comment. Many times, Wen Ruyu admired her late disciple who never forgot to study despite her busy schedule. The artistic conception of calligraphy and painting became more and more profound because of her experience. When the level reached a certain level, the technique became secondary. Fu Bao bowed and said, "Hello, Grandpa Wen, I finally meet you. Wen Ruyu also likes this talented young disciple. I heard from your grandpa that you can live at home for 2 years this time." "Well, Mom and Dad asked us to study hard with our grandparents." Fu Bao stretched out his hands thoughtfully, not caring how young and white his hands were, and held the rough firewood behind Wen Ruyu's back. "Grandpa, I have a lot of questions, I can't wait to get the answer. Can I ask you tomorrow?" Noticing her movements, Wen Ruyu, who felt a light touch on her shoulder, felt warm in her heart and said with a smile, "Of course, if you have nothing to do in winter, just come to me. Your grandpa Jin is so busy that he can teach you a trick or two." Fu Bao's brows were filled with joy, his eyes sparkling like gems. Zibao directly took the firewood from Wen Ruyu and said, "Grandpa Wen, I will take you home. Tomorrow the fish will be distributed to each house. Delicious food will be prepared in the evening. You and your grandparents will all come to our house for dinner. Can't you do it tonight?" Wen Ruyu asked. Zibao said without hesitation, "It's not impossible. You always come to our house for dinner, which is a blessing to us. But today we were not prepared enough and we only had a mediocre meal in the evening." Wen Ruyu laughed and said, "What's wrong with having a simple meal? I'll be with you as I wish." Fu Bao held his arm and said happily, "Then let's go home together." Lu Erxian hid the farthest, making everyone very amused. On the way home, Wen Ruyu couldn't help but look at him one after another and said, "How much does this kid hate studying? I think he looks smart, and it doesn't look like he's not good at studying." Lu Erxian said loudly, "I am very smart. I want to be a general, not a nerd." Wen Ruyu pursed her lips and smiled, "Boy, let me tell you, we are all soldiers. Soldiers with knowledge are promoted faster than illiterate soldiers, and they can understand the documents issued by the superiors and understand the art of war. Fighting does not rely on the physical body. To stop bullets, you must also know how to lay out, defend, command operations, instigate enemy troops, etc. Of course, a soldier who leads the way and is brave will have a place. He will be a regiment leader, but if he is very educated, he will go further. Do you still feel that studying is useless when you become a division commander or an army commander?" "Yes, Xiong, those generals you admire are very knowledgeable," Cheng Baoqiu interjected leisurely. Zibao also said, "Just like the Grandpa Zhou I told you, Grandpa Zhou is quite educated. He can write well and is familiar with many military techniques. He cracked the enemy's intelligence when he was young and commanded several famous battles. If you are illiterate and can't even read a map, Erxian, do you think Grandpa Zhou can do this? Because Xiong is young and uncertain, he has no interest in learning. As parents, Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu did not force him to have excellent grades. They thought of cultivating his interest in learning, but they were too busy to implement it, so they handed over Leave It to Zibao. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1799. Lu Erxian was very smart. He thought this was an excuse for everyone to force him to study, so he rushed home to ask Lu's father. When Father Lu learned that Wenryu was coming for dinner in the evening, he asked Jojo and Guan Yu to cook some vegetables. He looked down at his grandson and said with a smile, "Your grandfather and your brother are right. Your father read a lot of books when he was a child. Ordinary people read more, so he became a military commander while others retired, and some were at a lower level than him. Your mother also worked hard to go to school when you were very young." Lu Erxian held his face in his hands, widened his eyes, and said in disbelief, "Grandpa, you didn't coax me, did you? What are you doing to coax you? It's really hard to coax children nowadays, but it's only limited to our own family. Children from other families can be coaxed to the point of confusion with just a few words." Father Lu thought about it, and was very happy to accompany Wenryu through the door. "Bayadao, it's better to choose a different day than to catch it. I'll ask your Grandpa Joe and Grandpa Jin to come over for dinner. If it's convenient for you, Grandpa Su, they can also come over." Just inviting Wenryu but not them would inevitably make them worry. The more intellectual they are, the more they think. But Zhou Fengshu is better off, straightforward, simple and happy. When Zibao left in response, Lu's father said to Lu Erxian, "Your grandfather Zhou is the general, let him tell you." Wenryu laughed loudly, "You can't do anything to your grandson." Father Lu poured him water, "If you have no other choice, you have to find a way." "That's true," Wenryu nodded, and if she didn't want a solution, she could only let her child waste her time. Lu Erxian didn't want to listen to them, so he ran to the yard to see an extra goose. He remembered the goose stewed in an iron pot that his grandfather said during the day. He swallowed his saliva and lay at the door of the kitchen to watch Jojo and Guan Yu busy at work. "Sister-in-law, shall we stew the goose? You are really considerate. Grandpa just said that there will be a big white goose at night." Jojo put the scrambled eggs into a big bowl. He didn't bother to clean the pot for fear of wiping off the oil on the bottom of the pot. He poured some oil and stir-fried the next dish. He turned around and looked at the lively and cute little brother with a smile and said, "Yes, your cousin sent it here specially. She went back without seeing you. I can't stew it today because I don't have enough time. I'll ask your brother to stew it tomorrow morning and you can eat it in the evening." When the triplets were very young, they and Fu Bao visited their hometown with their mother. They had no impression of the people and things in their hometown. Therefore, Lu Erxian said that he had never ridden in a mule cart, and he did not know who his cousin was. However, it must be a good cousin who gives them the big white goose to eat. "Then when I see my cousin tomorrow, I have to thank her properly," Lu Erxian said matter-of-factly. "It's so miserable that I can't eat goose stew today. I'll find something delicious to comfort myself." Guan Yu took out a few dark things from the ashes under the stove and said, "Call your brothers, sisters, and brothers to eat roasted sweet potatoes." Lu Erxian immediately squatted down and stared at Guan Yu as he peeled the sweet potatoes without fear of burning them, revealing the white, soft, and fragrant sweet potato flesh inside. "I'll call them after I finish eating. There aren't too many of us in the kitchen." Facing Lu Erxian like this, Guan Yu was at a loss for words. Lu Erxian was afraid of being burned, so he rolled his eyes, found a spoon, dug out the sweet potato flesh, blew on it and put it into his mouth. Seeing this, Jojo smiled and sighed, "Er Xiong is really smart. We usually eat roasted sweet potatoes and change our left hand to the right every day. Sometimes we accidentally drop them to the ground, but we never thought of digging them out with a spoon. After all, Er Xiong is smart. Or are we too stupid?" Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1800. After being praised, Lu Erxian narrowed his eyes and continued to eat the sweet potato pulp happily. "It's so fragrant, sweet, and waxy." Lu Tianzi smelled the smell and came over. "Okay, Er Xiong, you are eating alone here, and I don't call you brother, sister, and brother. Lu Erxian finished the last bite of a big sweet potato and wiped his mouth. Second cousin, please don't accuse me wrongly. I was about to ask them to share. Lu Erxian then pointed to the small space in the kitchen. Look, such a small place can't fit all of us. Wouldn't it be nice if I asked them to eat after I finish eating? It won't cause any trouble to brother Au and sister-in-law. Lu Tianzi said curiously, you are very good at talking, Lu Erxian, why don't you like reading? Seeing Lu Erxian's frown, he quickly changed his words and said, okay, I won't tell you. Go to the main room quickly. The general you want to see, Grandpa Zhou, has come to our house. Why don't you hurry up and bring him tea? Lu Erxian ran out quickly. Guan Yu asked with a smile, Tianzi, how many people are here? If there are many people and the food cooked by Jojo and I is not enough, we will cook again, mix in more noodles, and continue to roll out the noodles. One bowl per person, which is convenient and fast. Lu Tianzi replied, I just came to tell you that only Grandpa Zhou and Grandpa Jin are here, no one else. There were 3 more people than expected. There was no need to make more noodles because Jojo had made enough food for 2 people when he rolled the noodles before, so as not to run out of food later. She had seen how much her husband eats, and he was already 3 years old. I have a weak appetite, and I have fried several vegetables. The noodles are even, and the worst is to eat the pancakes by myself, Jojo thought to himself. When several old men gathered together, they had to drink some wine with peanuts, so Jojo was not busy making noodles. When Ruyu was worried about starving her delicate children, so she said to Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu and his wife, go down first. You mothers and children will eat first, and leave some noodles for us to wait until we finish drinking. Living close by, he knew very well that several children in the Lu family had always been in charge of cooking, and Father Lu's cooking skills were beyond description. Guan Yu and his wife looked at Father Lu, and when they saw him nodding slightly, they went to the kitchen. Wang Quilin took several children, including Zibao Yayan, to sit alone at another table. After they finished their bowls of noodles one after another, their eyes became sleepy, and the old men had just drained a little of the wine in their glasses and went to chat. Cheng Baoqiu has been in the army for a long time and understands the current situation, and has a special topic with Zhou Fengxue. Zhou Fengxue was very happy to learn that his old friends and comrades in arms had returned to work one after another. Compared with before, people around him returned to work one after another, which made him more confident about the future. I also heard on the radio 2 days ago. With a little information, we can see that things are just around the corner to put things right. I have to live well, and only by living can I wait for the day of justice. Cheng Baoqiu raised his glass to him, the situation is getting better and better, we can afford to wait. Putting aside serious topics, when Ruyu talked about several children, Father Lu raised his glass to the 3 elders, these children are young and have a strong desire to learn. I will trouble you to teach them more in the future. Fu Bao is learning calligraphy and painting from me. It goes without saying. You can see the rest for yourselves when Ruyu prefers to teach students according to their aptitude. Er Xiong is obviously interested in military affairs. Brother Zhou can take care of him. Yayan and Dun Dun, Zhuang, you guys come here to answer my question, what do you usually like to do?